Tough. Oh shit, I get inside. Alright, we're going for. Hello everyone. We're going for chapter 9, how to use the will. We'll get started straight away. Because this is a good one. To set about getting rich in a scientific way, you do not try to apply your willpower to anything outside of yourself. You have no right to do so anyway. It is wrong to apply your will to other men and women in order to get them to do what you wish done. It is flagrantly wrong to coerce people by mental power as it is to coerce them by physical power. If compelling people by physical force to do things for you reduces them to slavery, compelling them by mental means accomplishing exactly the same thing, the only difference is in the methods. If taking things from people by physical force is robbery, then taking things by mental force is robbery also. There is no difference in principle. You have no right to use your willpower upon another person, even if it's for his own good, for you do not know what is for his good. The science of getting rich does not require you to apply power or force to any other person in any way whatsoever. There is not the slightest necessity for doing so. Indeed, at any attempt to use your will upon others will only tend to defeat your purpose. You do not need to apply your will to things in order to compel them to come to you. That would simply be trying to coerce God and would be foolish and useless as well as irreverent. You do not have to compel God to give you good things and any more than you have to use your will and power to make the sun rise. You do not have to use your willpower to conquer an unfriendly deity, or deity rather, or to make stubborn and rebellious forces to do your bidding. Substance is friendly to you and is more anxious to give you what you want than you are to get it. To get rich, you need to only use your willpower upon yourself. When you know what to think and do, then you must use your will to compel yourself to think and do the right things. That is a legitimate use of the will in getting what you want. To use it holding yourself to the right course. Use your will to keep yourself thinking and acting in a certain way. Do not try to project your will or your thoughts or your mind out into space to act on things or people. Keep your mind at home. It can accomplish more than elsewhere. Use your mind to form a mental image of what you want and to hold that vision with faith and purpose. And to use your will to keep your mind working in the right way. The more steady and continuous your faith and purpose, the more rapidly you will get rich, because you will make only positive impressions upon substance, and you will not neutralize or offset them by negative impressions. The picture of your desires held with faith and purpose is taken up by the formless and permeates it to great distances throughout the universe, for all I know. As the impression spreads, all things are set moving toward its realization. Every living thing, every inanimate thing, and the thing yet uncreated are stirred toward bringing into being that which you want. All force begins to be exerted in that direction. All things begin to move toward you. The minds of people everywhere are influenced towards doing things necessary to the fulfilling of your desires, and they work for you unconsciously. Isn't that crazy? Just to think that that's actually something that can happen. But you can check all this by starting a negative impression in the formless substance. Doubt or unbelief is as certain to start a movement away from you as faith and purpose are to start one towards you. It is by not understanding this that most people who try to make use of mental science in getting rich make their failure. Every hour and moment you spend in getting heed to doubts and fears, every hour you spend in worry, every hour in which your soul is possessed by unbelief, sets a current away from you in the whole domain of intelligent substance. All the promises are unto them that believe, and unto them only. Notice how insistent Jesus was upon the point of belief, and now you know the reason why. Since belief is all important, it behooves you to guard your thoughts, and as your beliefs will be shaped to a very great extent by the things you observe and think about, it is important that you should command your attention. We've heard this before. I don't have to go on a rant about this. All of us have watched enough information, YouTube series, I don't think that's a word, YouTube series, plural, um, and read enough books to understand that what this is talking about. And here the will comes into use, for it is by your will that you determine upon what things your attention shall be fixed. If you want to become rich, you must not make a study of poverty. Things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. Health is never to be attained by studying disease and thinking about disease. Righteousness, is not to be promoted by studying sin and thinking about sin. And no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. Medicine is a science of disease. As a science of disease has increased disease. Religion as a science of sin has promoted sin. And economics as a study of poverty will fill the world with wretchedness and want. Do not talk about poverty. Do not investigate it or concern yourself with it. Never mind what it causes or what its causes are. You have nothing to do with them. What concerns you is the cure. Do not spend your time in charitable work or charity movements. All charity only tends to perpetuate the wretchedness it aims to eradicate. I do not say that you should be hard-hearted or unkind and refuse to hear the cry of need, but you must not try to eradicate poverty in any of the conventional ways. Put poverty behind you and put all that pertains to it behind you and make good. Get rich. That is the best way you can help the poor. And you cannot hold the mental image which is to make you rich if you fill your mind with pictures of poverty. I know so many people, intelligent people, even myself, that have a socialistic tendency to help people and want to give to people and opportunities and things like that. And I understand what he's saying here, that the more you kind of imagine and ponder on what that looks like for people that are not like you, the more you kind of attract it. It's interesting. I'm going to send this to somebody. Do not read books or papers which give circumstantial accounts of wretchedness of the tenement dwellers, of the horrors of child labor, and so on. Do not read anything which fills your mind with gloomy images of want and suffering. You cannot help the poor in the least by knowing about these things, and the widespread knowledge of them does not tend at all to do away with poverty. What tends to do away with poverty is not getting of pictures of poverty into your mind, but getting pictures of wealth into the minds of the poor. You are not deserting the poor in their misery when you refuse to allow your mind to be filled with pictures of misery. Poverty can be done away with, not by increasing the number of well-to-do people who think about poverty, but by increasing the number of poor people who purpose with faith to get rich. Did I read that right? But by increasing the number of poor people who purpose with faith to get rich. I'm not sure I understand what I just read there. The poor do not need charity, they need inspiration. Charity only sends them a loaf of bread to keep them alive in their wretchedness, or gives them an entertainment to make them forget for an hour or two, but inspiration will cause them to rise out of their misery. If you want to help the poor, demonstrate to them that they can become rich. Prove it by getting rich yourself. The only way in which poverty will ever be banished from this world is by getting a large and constantly increasing number of people to practice the teachings of this book. It's taken me back to a conversation I've had with my mother-in-law about synchronicity and how we are like small drops in the ocean, each of us, and how there's the collective and the divine, things like that. People must be taught to become rich by creation, not by competition. Every man who becomes rich by competition throws down behind him the ladder by which he rises and keeps others down. But every man who gets rich by creation opens a way for thousands to follow him and inspires them to do so. You are not showing hardness of heart or an unfeeling disposition when you refuse to pity poverty, see poverty, read about poverty, or think or talk about it, or to listen to those who do talk about it. Use your willpower to keep your mind off the subject of poverty and keep it fixed with faith and purpose on the vision of what you want. That's the end of chapter 9. Chapter 10 is further use of the will. I'm going to read that tomorrow. We're pretty much, almost halfway there. And it's pretty cool to see how, there are there's a second part of the book here. It is called The Science of Being Great. So we're just going to continue with that. But for The Science of Getting Rich, you've got, I think it was 17 chapters, which is the last one is a summary, right? But something that chapter did for me now was validate the reason why I push so hard and I'm slightly delusional, and I'm called delusional. And I think people don't get that when you just sit and talk about all the cuck, in South Africa it means shit, you come in? When you sit and think about all the negative things, right, which we class as negative, when we sit and think about all the things that can go wrong, we attract those things that can go wrong. And so when my wife calls me delusional, I love it because I know that I'm thinking big enough. And so I hope to inspire her by making those things happen that she might not think can happen, right? But it's not just her, it's any person that you're sitting around with at a table. I've had possibly 15 to 20 calls recently with entrepreneurs in the online space, and some of them have limited thinking. Some of them haven't unlocked those opportunities, and it's not because they're stupid. It's because they don't necessarily believe in themselves, or they are questioning whether what they're doing is correct. And that's normal, right? People think about shit like that all the time. So my quest that I want to send you guys on, and that I want to go on as well, when it comes to the use of the world, is just try and remove the way that you think about stuff that's happening to you, and look at it as stuff that's happening for you, but something that you can solve. Because 90% of life you can control, and 10% are those things like death and taxes, right? You can't control those things. You can't control taxes, but at the end of the day, you still have to pay, right? Anyway, I think that's the end of my rant. It's been a beautiful week this week. Really enjoyed reading this book and to you. But yeah, I think if we could summarize the whole week's worth of chapters and last week's chapters, it's that there is a place that your thoughts go when you think about it, and when what you think about is imagined and pictured, and it's real, and those things can become reality for you. And so I think it's just a practice that we can go through this weekend. I'd encourage everybody to go and touch the dream, drive in that area that you like or that you want to live in. Go buy an old magazine that you can't buy an old magazine. Go buy a magazine that's got nice houses and furniture and things like that in. Design your life the way that you want it to be, and go to the dealership. Go sit in the car, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to just be material things. You can go to the gym. Even if you're in the gym, just walking on the treadmill, watching everybody else, get inspired to go and lift some weights. Even if you do one set or 3 sets of one exercise, it just means that you did it, you got started. And so I believe that every single person that watches these videos will have become better by applying these things. And so another quest you can go on is to remove profiles on Instagram that that don't necessarily make you feel good, right? And it's not always about making you feel good, but it's about thinking good. So if you are, recently I've been going through this, whenever I go into Instagram and there's like a comedic profile, I don't get any value from this, I'm taking this off, I'm not going to watch this anymore. Or I only want to connect with people that are doing well in business and that are, on their way up, and that are maybe on the same level as me or a little bit less than me, so that we can all work together. And so then that's what I do when it comes to YouTube. I unsubscribe from all the people. If you look at any program and everywhere where people, talk about mindset, they don't necessarily talk about, like, monk mode is not meant for you to isolate yourself. Again, we spoke about this in a different video. It's meant for you to remove distraction and to literally change how you think about stuff. And so I think this book is beautiful. I think the title is extremely catchy. I'm really realizing more and more that if anyone wanted to become extremely wealthy or rich of any sort of kind, they would think that there is a secret sauce, a formula of sorts, which we have received, but it just talks about thinking differently, and having faith, and what the images that you create in your mind can come true. And so enjoy the weekend. I'll chat with you guys tomorrow. Talk soon. Cheers.